Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Startup Street. I am Shruti Mishra. I'm in Jerusalem in Israel to bring you all the action from the OurCrowd Global Investor Summit 2023. Founded 10 years ago, OurCrowd is an online global investment platform that has backed over 400 startups, secured capital commitments of over $2.1 billion since inception, and has participated in over 61 exits, including many IPOs. The OurCrowd Global Investor Summit is Israel's largest tech showcase of technology and entrepreneurship. But before we deep dive into the summit, let's take a detour and check upon some interesting startups to see what Israel has to offer to the world. First up is a transformative artificial intelligence company that could potentially put my job at risk. DID is a multimodal generative AI video platform that has developed a proprietary technology that can generate digital composite faces and speech in 119 languages on the basis of their text prompts. What this basically means is that a digital human made with the help of DID could potentially do a similar interview with just a few text prompts. To elaborate more on this, joining me now is the co-founder and CEO of DID, Gil Perry. Gil, many thanks for joining me on Startup Street today.
Thanks for having me.
First up, in simple terms, explain to us what this AI proprietary technology is all about. What kind of opportunity does it present? And like I pondered earlier, does this technology put communication jobs at risk?
We create digital people. What does it mean, digital people? We get as an input text and a photo of a person, and you get a video of the person speaking the text in any language you want. So this is the technology. We are selling to large enterprises, but also creators and developers are using our technology. We have a self-serve studio. Enterprises are using it mainly to create training material, which is more engaging and cheaper, and also marketing material, which is more effective, and for customer experience to communicate with their clients.
While this is disruptive technology, Gil, we do live in a world of risk from deep fakes. So how do you ensure that technology in general and this AI synthetic media is being used in a responsible way? How do we avoid the misuse of technology?
This is a very important question. DID, our background, our DNA is all about privacy and doing good and ethics. We started from protecting against face recognition. So we have it very strong rooted inside us. So first we have strict rules which everyone signs on before using the platform, and we have guardrails. You can't upload a photo of a celeb, you can't put harmful content which is with violent or harmful content. We can cut anyone from the API, and also it's not deep fake. You can't swap faces. You take a real photo, you make it speak.
Outside of the US, more money has been invested in food tech in Israel as compared to the rest of the world, including the whole of Europe. OurCrowd has invested $95 million across 17 food tech companies, with 9 of them being in Israel. From alternate protein to sugar reduction, to food and water freshness, to supply chain optimization, and even sustainable farming. So let's take a sample of some of these innovative technologies. Me two Israeli startups from the food tech space. The first company, Profuse Technology, is revolutionizing the way meat is produced. The company produces cultured meat that have been grown from cells only. The second company, Blue Tree Technologies, is developing a sugar reduction platform for natural drinks using a selective natural method. Tamal and Michael, many thanks for joining me on Startup Street. Let me start with you, Tamal. Tell me, how are you ensuring, how Profuse Technology is ensuring that the cultured meat that you're producing has 2.5 times more muscle, 4 to 5 times more protein? Tell me, how are you enhancing the natural biological process?
Yeah, so what we had discovered was a signaling pathway that exists in muscle stem cells, and we can specifically target this pathway with a combination of molecules that enhances the natural process of what we call fusion between the stem cells that creates this muscle. And by doing so, we get to this larger amount of protein and biomass.
Tamal, Profuse Technology also claims that it has the potential to kind of match the price parity from conventional meat. In fact, it also claims that it has reduced the production cost by up to 40%. So tell me, how have you been able to achieve this, and what is the price point that you're offering at?
What is very expensive in cultivated meat is the media and the growth factors. And by increasing the efficiency, increasing the biomass production, the whole process becomes shortened. And therefore, you don't need to use so much media and you don't need to use so much growth factors. And by doing that, we're bringing the cost of cultivated meat down. So our clients are the cultivated meat producers. We will be selling them a product that they will add into their already existing production process, and that will let them achieve the increase in biomass.
All right, Michael, coming to you now. Talk to me about Blue Tree Technologies. What is the pain point that you're solving? Of course, diabetes is a global health crisis.
We're taking out the sugar from natural beverages that are good for your health. At the end, everyone is looking for products that are good for your health, but taking out the sugar is a big issue in this industry.
All right, Michael, so tell me now, how are you reducing sugar? Talk to me about your selective sugar removal method, and especially how are you doing this while maintaining the composition of the drink?
We don't add any chemicals, any biological substances to the product itself. In addition, we are focusing on a sugar molecule that is the disaccharide. It can be sucrose, maltose, lactose, any disaccharide molecule that we are focusing. We are taking only this molecule out, leaving other substances inside. The goodies in orange juice, and also monosaccharides that balance the sweetness of the product itself. We are integrating our technology in bottling lines, manufacturing lines. It can be any natural beverage. It can be orange juice, pineapple juice, and even dairy. And even in wine, we can integrate our technology before wine is being produced, as we are able to reduce the amount of sugar in grapes as well.
As we move from food tech to health tech, it is clear that we are at the cusp of a revolutionary new chapter in the way we approach health and wellness. With the best medical attention centered in the richest countries and going to their affluent masses, health equity has become a global goal. And addressing this goal are game-changing medtech and digital health technology that could perhaps reverse this equation in our lifetime. I'm at Sheba, the Center for Digital Innovation at the Sheba Medical Center in Tel Aviv, to find out how Israeli startups are addressing the most serious medical issues of our time. I have with me Professor Eyal Zimlichman, the Chief Innovation Officer at Sheba, the Center for Digital Innovation at Sheba Medical Center. Professor, many thanks for joining me on CNBC-TV18. Professor, you also claim to be one of the most advanced hospitals in the world. If you could take me through some of the innovative technologies that you're using here that sets you apart from the rest of the world. I believe you do surgeries with robots?
Robots today are not really robots in surgery. The surgeons activate them. They're mainly extensions of our arms. But we know this is just scratching the surface in terms of the potential. Once we can introduce into this decision support tools to help the doctors make better decisions in surgery, we will be able to have better outcomes and shorten the length of surgery. And this would lead one day to actually having robots perform the entire operation.
Throw some light on how Israeli technology is truly advancing medical care globally. If you could talk to us about some of your Israeli startups or their innovations that are being used globally in India, perhaps?
The ability to use digital solutions like artificial intelligence, for example, artificial intelligence to read CT scans much quicker than the humans can read, with making less mistakes that humans can make. Also, the ability to read pathology slides. We need today pathologists to go through slides. There's a lack of pathologists around the world. Not all of them have all the expertise to read the tissue. Artificial intelligence that is developed at Sheba and in Israel can help us do that and take away also some of the problems of the health professions, which again, we are lacking in terms of doctors and nurses to really do everything that is needed. But we're also developing solutions around medical devices, for example, for avoiding a heart transplant or transplanting a valve in the heart. Today we can do this through catheterization and not only through open heart surgery. That takes down the cost of the procedure considerably. You only need to spend one night in the hospital rather than a full week for cardiac surgery. without the rehabilitation that has to come later. So these types of technologies that were developed in Israel and more that we will see coming around over the next couple of years are going to literally transform how we do healthcare.
It's time for us to head into a short break, but when we return, we bring you all the action from the OurCrowd Global Investor Summit 2023. Stay tuned. Welcome back to this very special edition of Startup Street from Israel. The OurCrowd Global Investor Summit acts as a showcase for Israel, a country very well known for being the innovation nation, home to thousands of startups and just about every prominent VC making its presence. This year, 9,000 attendees, including 2,000 investors, hundreds of startups, global corporations and government officials from across over 80 countries have gathered here in Jerusalem. So first, let's go and meet John Medved, the founder and CEO of OurCrowd, to know more about the Israeli tech ecosystem and his India plans.
Right now, NASDAQ is up almost 15% since the beginning of the year. That's making up in 45 days about half of last year's loss, which is a very exciting thing. And I think that, God willing, we get a little bit of help in terms of, sort of macro things like inflation, like war, like supply chain. And some of these issues start to sort of get resolved. And I think you'll see, startups start to flourish again.
Okay.
And investors open their wallets.
All right, on that bullish note, one final question. What are your plans regarding India? Any Indian startups that have piqued your interest?
Yeah, look, I am seeing Indian startups right and left. I think that 2030 is going to be the decade of India. I think that everyone's going to be looking to India for leadership because, for example, in India today, you have without question the most unbelievable digital stack that involves 1 billion plus people, okay, in terms of identity, payments, and I think the world hasn't woken up to that yet. They think of India as sort of an interesting country where you can outsource some stuff and BPO, and they don't understand that India has really moved into the leadership position globally in terms of much of the digital economy and the digital society, digital government. And I think that this is going to be really exciting to invest in, to work with, and we hope to only grow significantly in India.
Healthcare, public safety, mobility, cybersecurity, food, agriculture, and even more, Israel in the past few decades has truly become a hub for innovation and technology. With the government playing a pivotal role in boosting the entrepreneurship zeal, it's now time for us to visit some of the startup showcase booths at the summit here to bring you an insider's view of the startup scene in Israel. Nitric oxide nasal spray is being touted as an innovative antiviral spray and has been proven effective in preventing viruses, including COVID-19, from entering the body through the nasal cavity. To elaborate more on this, joining me now is Chris Miller, the co-founder of Sanitize. Chris, first tell me how treatment with nitric oxide is effective in preventing an early treatment of COVID-19.
Yes, nitric oxide is a naturally occurring molecule in our body. It's produced as a natural defense against viruses and bacteria. So what we've been able to do at Sanitize is we've been able to take and produce nitric oxide in a nasal spray, in a liquid. So what the spray and the formulation does, coats your nose, slows the virus down. The nitric oxide does all these three things and reduces the viral load and kills the virus.
Chris, the nitric oxide nasal spray has been developed in Canada and is being manufactured in Israel. It's available under various brand names as Innovate, Virex, and in India as Fabi Spray. Can you take me through some of the statistics you've seen at the clinical trials and what you're seeing currently?
So we divided into two types of clinical trials. Initially, we have treatment, and treatment was done with individuals that had COVID, mild COVID, and when we were using it is to reduce the viral load and reduce the symptoms. And so we were able to show in a large randomized controlled double-blinded trial that it reduced the time from infection on a RT-PCR to cut the time by 50% to a negative PCR. So in the early days of COVID, we would have been superheroes, because if I had said to you, I could get you out of quarantine in half the time, it would have been great. But life doesn't work that way. So that's one of the things. So that's treatment, but prevention. So what we found in that study, the observational trial with university students that were housed in a dorm together when one got COVID, and they had the option of taking the spray or not, we showed that those that didn't take the spray, 26% of them got COVID with Delta or Omicron virus, but those that took the spray, only 6%. So the 26 versus 6%, that was a 70% difference, the reduction in the chance of getting it. So it's very exciting.
Are you awaiting more approvals in other countries?
So that's a very good question. So we're ongoing in as many countries as we can. So we're in Europe, we're doing a clinical trial for treatment, and we'll take that data and go to the MHRA in the UK and Canada and the United States.
Continuing with our focus on health tech, next up is a patient-specific 360-degree virtual reality platform for processing, discussing and rehearsing complex surgical procedures. To elaborate more, I'm now joined by Alan Zuckerberg, the president of the Surgical Theatre. The Surgical Theatre processes 2D scans such as CT and MRI and then creates a 3D 360-degree reconstruction, which together with augmented reality goggles literally enables a surgeon to fly inside the brain of a patient. First, tell me, what is the pain point that you're solving, and if you could give me some use cases.
Patients don't get today a really informed consent. When they go in a complex surgery, they don't really know what's going on and what's the plan for surgery. With Surgical Theatre, the surgeon can really educate them about their plan, about what's going to happen in the operating room, and they can really get it. So this is the first pain point. The second pain point is that surgeons today don't practice for surgery. You know, that's what's happening today. Many surgeons will walk to the operating room and just ask, hey, so what do we got here? Okay, let's start. And this is a problem, another problem that Surgical Theatre solves. They allow the surgeon to really practice for patient-specific surgery.
So the Surgical Theatre helps in pre-surgical planning, basically helping surgeons find the optimal approach. But I believe it also helps during a live operation, providing the best visualization. So can you elaborate on the benefits that the Surgical Theatre provides on a live surgical site?
In the operating room, our image, our virtual reality, is being injected to other peripheral devices like the microscope. So the surgeon can look in the microscope through the eyepiece, not only see the field of view for the microscope, the optical view, but also Surgical Theatre through that eyepiece. So they never need to look away from the surgical scene. This is one of the most distracting things for surgeons. They need to look on the surgical scene and then look away to screens. We solve that for them. With augmented reality headsets in spine surgeries, same thing. Our headset serves as visualization and data hub. We bring all the visual and data cues to the surgeon through the headset so they can focus on the surgical scene. This is the number one problem the Surgical Theatre solves.
What kind of surgeries can the Surgical Theatre be used, and how many surgeries have you supported so far?
So our FDA clearance supports all the clinical specialties. We support today cranial, spine, cardiac, thoracic, ortho, GI, and others, urology and others. So we support multiple clinical specialties. To date, we supported more than 20,000 surgeries and more than 100,000 consultations.
Decarbonization, hydrogen technology is being touted as a key solution. Israel-based H2 Pro has developed a novel and cost-effective water-splitting system to produce green hydrogen. To elaborate more on this, joining me now is the Chairman and CEO, Talman Marco. Talman, many thanks for joining us here. First up, tell me, how are you producing green hydrogen and how is it different from the traditional method?
Normally, the way to generate green hydrogen is by taking water and electricity and splitting it. It's very much like that old experiment that many of us have done in high school or in junior high, where you take 2 electrodes in a glass of water and you start to see bubbles. The problem with this process is that it's not very efficient. So you lose about 30% of the energy to heat. Maybe you don't sense it in a glass of water, but when you're talking about the industrial system, that 30% is a lot. What we discovered over many years of research is that using a certain kind of electrode, and by splitting this process into two, then you can get to much higher efficiency. And in the lab, we were able to demonstrate that we're going from 60–70% efficiency into almost 100% efficiency.
For green hydrogen to be truly adopted on a wide scale, cost reduction is key. By how much have you been able to lower the cost? Also, I believe you want to bring down the cost to $1 by 2030. What makes you bullish on achieving that target?
To get to $1, a lot of things will need to happen. We will need to see the cost of renewable energy going down to about 1.5 cents per kilowatt hour. That's beyond our control, but we believe that the industry overall, the world will be there. On top of that, you need to be super efficient, and that's where we come in with our 95% efficiency. So that means about 42 kilowatt hours per kilogram of hydrogen. And on top of that, you will need equipment that will be cheap enough to accommodate.
Future of transportation, one of the latest innovations in transportation technology are eVTOL aircrafts. Short for electric vertical takeoff and landing aircrafts, they are powered by batteries and fly and hover much like a helicopter. Also, they are called as air taxis or flying taxis. And to elaborate more on this, joining me now is the co-founder of eVTOL company Air, Ken Rosen. Ken, many thanks for joining us. If you could take me through the specifications of your launch vehicle, Air 1, how many passengers can it carry?
This is a two-seat eVTOL aircraft, and I think unlike many of the other companies in this field, it's not an air taxi. It's an aircraft designed for private ownership and private and personal use. So we're actually selling this to private people who fly this themselves for their own purposes, whether it's commute or recreational.
Outside of testing, eVTOLs haven't taken to the skies. By when do you think this will turn into a reality, and will you be the first company to do so?
I think we'll probably be, if not the first, then one of the earliest companies in the market, because we've selected this route of building and certifying a private aircraft rather than a commercial air taxi. We can move a little bit faster, so I think we'll be in the market before other companies who are building larger. Yeah, maybe at the end of next year we'll begin to see something very initial, but at the moment we have over 300 pre-orders, and the client, it's very diverse. Probably half of them are pilots, and the other half are people who are not pilots, people who have always wanted to fly and now see this as an opportunity because this is a lot easier than a conventional aircraft.
And that's a wrap, folks. We've come to the end of our amazing journey on Startup Street, straight from the heart of Israel. I had a blast speaking to some of the best Israeli minds and most disruptive startups. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Goodbye and many thanks for watching.